Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Yashar'Al and Yahudah, grafted in Gentiles into the body of Mashiach. We, the people of the book broadcast, is going down on this Shabbat warning Yashar'Al Yahudah that they need to repent, be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. I got a mandate. My mandate is that I warn you, son of Adam, warn the nation. Let them know that they must be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. There's a judgment awaiting this wicked, diabolical, Jezebel, wicked nation. Yahuah is calling us to come out from among her and be ye separate. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, hear the word of Yahuah, listen to none other than Yaki Hezekiah. The song is entitled Jerusalem. Listen, that's our home. Abba Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Todah Rabbah. I give you praise, glory, and honor. I thank you, Yahuah, for giving us another rest, another opportunity to reflect, another opportunity to quiet our ruachs and build on that Torah that you have called to be a lamp unto our feet, a light into our pathway. Abba, I thank you for putting your Ruach HaKodesh in me. For you said, by it I will be led and guided into all truth. Abba, Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I thank you and I praise you. Now I'm asking you by the same Ruach that you would allow to be my mouth and my tongue and would be under the control of your Ruach HaKodesh. Abba, that I would say the things that you would want me to say. I will declare the word that you want me to declare. Abba, it is not me, it is you. I submit to you. Abba, in the name of Yahusha, may I not cause anyone to stumble, anyone to be turned out of the way, anyone to come up lame. Yahuah, I serve you and you only. Abba, my word is to go forth in a demonstration of righteousness unto you. It is your word from my lips. And I praise you. I take authority of every evil ruach, every wicked spirit, everything that comes against the children of Yahuah. I bind it now in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Every lying ruach, I bind you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Every perverse ruach, unclean ruach, I bind you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Every familiar ruach, every ruach of witchcraft and divination, I bind you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. No power, weapon formed against the children that Yahuah has chosen will prosper. Now, Abba, I'm praying in the name of Yahusha Mashiach that your word, which declares that you have given me power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, would be a manifested reality in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach out of my mouth. Abba, I pray that the very word that you have told me in reference to me having a keys to the kingdom of the Shamayim, and that whatever I bind on earth is bound in the Shamayim. Abba, so therefore I bind these devils and I command them to be loosed, because you said whatever I loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. I command these devils to turn the people of Yahuah loose in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Abba, may the word of Yahuah have free course in them. May the word of Yahuah be loosed into their minds and their hearts. May they receive a revelation of your truth. I'm in the name of Yahusha Mashiach. I do this. I do this. I do this for you. I do this for you, Abba Yahuah, bringing forth the word to the nation. Abba, I pray right now that the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart will be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, our strength and our redeemer. Hallelujah. Listen, again, we're listening to Hezekiah. The song is entitled Jerusalem. And listen, I don't own the rights to this music, but I praise Yahuah, Lord. I have and am looking to the restoration of his people. I'm looking for Yahuah to bring forth his people from the lands of their captivity and restore them to their own land. What does that mean to you, Yashar'Al and Yahudah? That means that this is not your home. This is not your land. Your intention should never be to be here and establish roots here in a land that's not yours. It was never yours. It was never the land of these heathens that came in by incursion and took dominion over this land and waged a warfare on these people, right? And took their land and brought you here to work their land that they took, right? Work their land, build this land, and it was never meant to be for you. You were always meant to be their property, right? You were always meant to be that source of work, force, without just compensation. They ain't never intended for you as a nation to rise in this nation. Yahuah has never purposed for you to rise in this nation. Yahuah has never purposed for you to do anything in this nation except serve him and look to return to your land. And if not you, you set a foundation for your sons and your daughters to know that their destination is their land, the land of Canaan, the land of Middle Earth, Sub-Saharan Africa. That is your territory. That is your land. And I ain't talking about Jersey. I ain't talking about Jersey. I ain't talking about that. That is not the middle of the earth. That's not the land designated to Shem. That is not the land dedicated to Shem. That's the land dedicated to Yafet, right? So our land is Sub-Saharan Africa, right? It's not hot nor cold. It's middle, right? The equator, right? That's our land. So you are in a land that's not yours. You are looking to establish roots in a land that's not yours. And with this understanding, right, you bring yourself, Yashar'Al and Yahudah, under a curse. Because Yahuwah's not intended this for to be yours. They ain't going to let you have it like you think you're going to have it. They've taken your land in the past. They'll take your land again in the future. This is not your land, right? You can't establish this place of permanency in expecting equity and equality and being a people of the United States. You can't. You will never be in this land righteously. You will always be in this land unrighteously because it was a land that they stole. And just because you are here don't mean that you can remain in this land that was stolen. Right? They literally violated a Torah of Yahuah, a Torah that was given to Yafet, Ham, Shem, and Shem, right? Cham and Shem. These lands were given to people groups, and these people groups and their sons migrated into these lands. They became theirs by lot. It was their land. You could not go into their land and take it and have Yahuwah's blessings upon you, right? You can't. Now, here, I'm understand something. Right? Understand this, right? There are things that Yahuwah can't, I don't even want to say he winks at. Well, he winks at some things, right? Because until you come into the knowledge of it, right, you receive the revelation of truth, right? He knows how your heart is moving. So listen, let's look at it this way. In Christianity, right? In Christianity, my heart wasn't to the religious way of doing and being in the Christian faith. I was always at odds with it. But I was never at odds with his Torah. I was never at odds with the word. Actually, I spoke and declared the word of Yahuwah all the time. And because I did, he gave me his Ruach HaKodesh, right? He gave me his Ruach HaKodesh at an early age, right? And I grew up having his wink unto the revelation of who I am, and as a people what he has called me to, and the full demonstration, the understanding of that became my reality, right? Right? He allowed me to be brought forth to the place and time that I am today. Hebrew of the nation of Yahudah, understanding the lands of his captivity, called to be his people, right? To lay the demonstration of righteousness, to understand what it means to be a people, right? Right? To know who I was serving, right? Knowing that I was serving Yahuah, serving Yahusha, not the earth pig, not Lord, right? For me to go back to Lord and me to go back to the earth pig would be a blasphemous thing for me as a person that has received the light of light and the revelation of who I am as a people, to go back to that which I know now is diabolical, because in a lot of respects that when we came over here as a people, we had taken on a religion that wasn't ours, right? There were elements to it because it's the Torah, but again, they tampered with that whole manuscript because that's what they do, right? But now we awake in Hamashiach Yahusha, right? We know who we are if you know who you are. And Yashar'Al, who has called me to mandated me to warn you to turn from paganism, to turn from the ways of the heathen, right? Look, let me tell you something, right? Yahuah makes a way for the righteous. Yahuah answers prayers for the righteous. Because if they are his people and they're called by his name, right? And if they humble themselves and pray, right? Identifying and recognizing who they are, right? Humble themselves and pray and seek him. Yahuah through faith in Yahusha. If they seek him, turn from their wicked ways, then he'll hear from heaven, right? Right? He will forgive your sins, and then what? He'll restore your land. Right? This ain't our land. Right? This will never be our land. And for a time, while we were in this land, right, we were able to develop certain aspects of it because it was who we are. We did it to survive. But, then what we wanted to do was we wanted to be more like them. We want a system like theirs. We wanted to move in capitalism like theirs. We wanted Wall Street like theirs. We wanted everything that they had in a country and in a nation that was not ours. And, true to form, right? They came in and bombed you, destroyed you, right? You wanted to have cities, successful cities, and you did, but they flooded them out, right? They destroyed you. Every opportunity that you tried to make in this land, right, that is cursed, right? For you and them. It's cursed from them because they made incursions. They made incursions into a land that Yahuah hadn't given them. And then they brought you over to work the land and made you assimilated to their culture. And now they got you wanting to do what they did in the land. Succeed, prosper, all of that stuff through capitalism. They want you to worship Baal. They want you to worship Ashtaroth. They want you to bow down to this earth pig. But this is not your land. It has never been your land. Yahuah never sent you into captivity with the intentions on you getting there, remaining there, and accepting it and making it your own. Never. Never. That's why you never received 40 acres and a mule. Never. That's why even though you were the farmers with the knowledge, right? What they've gotten, they learned from you. Because they wasn't working no fields. They weren't doing none of that. They wasn't working agricultural like that. But they got it from you, right? Because you was their slaves. They wasn't doing it because they had you to do it. And you knew how to do it well. They took your land from you. They said, oh, we'll give you 40 acres and a mule. Right? We'll give you land, but it's going to be a sharecropping. Right? You can work this land. You can till this land. Right? But you're going to have to, by virtue of sharing with me, I give you what you need in tools and work, and then I give you a portion of what you have worked and harvested. And you can use what you have to pay me back. But they never were able to pay them back. They were never able to get out of debt. They were always subject to them in this land. Farmers, agriculturists, right? George Washington Carver, the peanut king, the peanut oil king, Hebrew. Listen, they know what they know because of you. Do you think they're going to let you come into a country that they stole and then let you rise to be ahead? Do you think they're going to let you rise to any level? No. You know what? Yahuah ain't going to let you rise. Now listen, right? Well, what about all these wealthy millionaires that are of our hue, right? If they're of our hue, and then they've made it to millions, guess what? They have made allegiances and alignments and covenants with these people. Because ain't no man, no melanated woman gonna rise in this nation, right, without having established a covenant. And if they decide to divert from their covenant, guess what? They gonna come up unalived. Because they don't have a right to this land. You don't have a right to this land. They definitely ain't gonna let you have a right to this land, right? Right? And it's not your land. It's not your land. Right? If your intentions is to live in this land as a Hebrew and expect to prosper, you ain't. Unless you covenant with them. Right? See, and even when we wanted to covenant with them, and we wanted to get contracts and loans and all of this stuff, they wouldn't give them to us. That was a blessing from Yahuah. Because they would have subsidized us. They would have had control of your farms and whatever it is you were able to harvest while you were here on the United States to be able to take care of your families. It was never about building a nation in a land that's not theirs. It was never about building a nation in a land that is not ours. Our land that Yahuah has given to us by lot is in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, right, you said, well, even if I go over to sub-Saharan Africa, right, and I buy some property, how do I know that's my land? Listen, guess what? Right? If you leave here and go to sub-Saharan Africa and you possess land, guess what? You closer to where you need to be in Yahuah. Right? Because you're a people in your own land. Yahuah took us as a people and divided us up into tribes. Our tribes was for the purpose of ensuring that the tribes would be strengthened, but they had their own lots of land, right? Had their own lots of land, right? So if I was Yahudah, my inheritance was in the land of Yahudah because that's where my name was, right? It wasn't in the land of Manasseh, even though Manasseh is my brother. I could not go to Manasseh and secure land because by lot it belonged to Manasseh and his descendants, right? So we as a nation of people, our descendants, right, had possession of a land that was theirs. That's why Yahuah said, don't marry outside your tribe. It wasn't that we didn't want us to marry other people, not people amongst our nation that were not Yahudah, or it wasn't because he didn't want me to marry Manasseh. He knew that our inheritance was attached to us by tribes. And if you start to marry outside your tribe, you affect the inheritances of your brothers and your forefathers, right? So what you do is you continue in that space. Now listen, right? The colonizers has taken sub-Saharan Africa. They've taken over the continent of Africa, and they parted his lands. They parted the lands of Yahuah, right? Right. So right now, the lands of Yahuah, there are people in the lands that know that their forefather has been there for years in that land. The land that they're in, the territory that they're in, that are of the tribes, right? Right. We understand that a large part of us in the United States of America are taken from Yahudah. They have told us this. They took it from the land of Wahidah. Now they told us this in the United States, right? That's why they wanted to destroy the tribe of Yahudah through Sanger, right? We can't let them begin to grow like that. Not Yahudah, because they're a lion's whelp. These people know more about you than you know about yourself. You are a lion's whelp. From the prey you go up. And they know if you understand and identify with who you are and you recognize who you are a threat, because you become supernatural when you step into obedience to Torah and faith in Hamashiach Yahusha. Yeah, they wanted to destroy you. They took you from there, right? So listen, guess what? I'll go anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa because I know that I will make it there, right, in Yahusha's witness amongst my people. Listen, this land is not yours. This land is not yours. It was never meant for you to establish roots and build a legacy for your children in this land. If you do have land, bless Yahuah. But listen, your objective is to tell your children, this is not Canaan's land. This is not the land of Canaan. This is not our land. We as a people have been scattered here. And our ancestors have made several attempts to develop this land, but has been stopped every time, right? So until you can put yourself in a position to make it back to your land, and don't be afraid of going back to sub-Saharan Africa, though you don't know it, right? Because, at the end of the day, you're going to be a whole lot safer in a land that is not antagonistic and that is not targeting you, that do not like you, that don't like you, that don't want anything to do with you. And I'm not talking about everybody in the United States, right? Because there are people that are in the United States that are of the other nation that have respect for the tribes and the nations of Yahudah. There are people of the United States that know that we are the people, right? And they have identified with us, right? You have people that don't know we the people, but just don't like the fact that, it ain't rocket science to see that these people is always mistreated. It ain't rocket science to see that in the law and in the judicial system, it ain't equal. It ain't rocket science to see that, when you got a young black boy running for the police, guess what? There might be a chance that he get unalived, right? Or he could be in his car, right? And for whatever strange reason, an individual officer may be threatened. He may feel like his life is in danger. Listen, you can't tell me nothing because I've been in law enforcement, right? I've been in law enforcement. I'm speaking from knowledge and experience. I've been trained by the best. So I understand the process. Now, I was a military police officer. I was a correctional officer. I was a probation officer, right? I was a guardian of schools. I understand the nature, the mindset, and the mentality, right? Right? You're going to either be a part and afflict your people as they do, or you ain't going to be a part and you ain't going to be in. Yashar'Al and Yahudah, hear the word of Yahuah. This is not your land. This is not your land. This is not where you hunker down and look to the end of whatever it is, and build. No, nada, no way. See, because for me, it's like, how do you receive light, right? How do you receive the light of Yahuah, and then go back to an ideal and a mentality, right, that you know is diabolical and wicked? Let me get to some scriptures for somebody to say, well, you ain't giving us no scriptures. Let's go to Jubilees. Let me do this. There's a couple of things that we're gonna hit today. All right. Let's go to, because I want to reiterate this in Jubilees. Jubilees 10. Jubilees 10. Right. Jubilees 10. Right. Now, we understand that Yahuah, right, divided the lands into territories, right? We know this, right? We know that in the division of these lands, right, in these territories, Shem, Ham, or Cham, and Japhet had sons. And in these lands with their sons, they divided up these partials, right? And they went into these lands and they built cities. They went into these island territories and built cities, right? Like there, they lived in these territories and they served their elves, right? Now, when you understand this, you understand that even at the Tower of Baal, or Babel, at the Tower of Babel, right? These people were worshiping elves. When it came time to split into areas, right, they took their languages and they took their worship, right, to these lands, right. We understand that there was territories that were allotted to us, and these territories were not to be incurred on, right? Now, let me see. Matter of fact, I want Jubilees 10, but I want I want to where's that? Chinook. Run the Shabbat and Methuselah. Yeah. He says now here. All right. Jubilees, the 6th chapter. Right. Right. Let's stop our oops. Let me start reading this. For this reason, Jubilees 6 and 17. For this reason, it is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets. Everything Yahuah has established as a Torah is in the heavenly tablets. Everything that Yahuah has commanded that we would do and obey is written in the heavenly tablets. There's nothing that's changed or amended in the heavenly tablets. Right? If Yahuah said this is the way it's going to be, this is the way it's going to be, right? He says that they should celebrate the Feast of Shavu'oth in this month of the year to renew the covenant thereof, right? That's not exactly what I want. But that point holds true, right? And the weeks of neglect. Okay, that's not it. Maybe 7. Okay, here we go. This is what I want, right? Jubilees, the 7th chapter, right? Right? Here, Noah, it says here, and matter of fact, let me just start at the 25th verse of the 7th chapter of Jubilees. And Yahuah destroyed everything from the face of the earth because of the wickedness and the deeds, and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth to destroy everything. Now, this is Noah, iterating to his sons, right? This understanding of the reason for which Yahuah destroyed the earth, right? And we were left, I and you, my sons, and everything that enters with us into the ark. And behold, I see your works before me, that ye do not walk in righteousness, right? So here we have Noah understanding and seeing that his sons, listen, they ain't gonna walk in righteousness, right? Right now they were given a command to serve Yahuah, to keep the Shavu'oths, right? Right? To not shed innocent blood, not to drink blood, not to commit fornication, right? Don't do these things, right? But he says, and when we were left, I and you, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark, and behold, I see your works. I'm watching you, right? I'm watching you over the years, right? I'm watching you, right? Before me, that ye do not walk in righteousness. You're not walking in righteousness. You're not walking in that which you promised to do. I can tell it. I can see it, right? For in the path of destruction ye have begun to walk. You've already begun to walk in the path of destruction, right? And ye are parting one from another, and are envious one of another. And so it comes that you are not in harmony, my sons, with each other, his brother. Seen it coming. He's seen it coming. See, he knew that there was going to come a time when these sons that made up the world was going to do that which was wicked, right? Right? And cause incursions on one another in their land, right? And deal with them, their brothers, unrighteously, right? He says here, for I see and behold, the devils have begun their seduction against you and against your children. And now I fear on your behalf that after my death, excuse me, after I die, after I become deceased, after I go to be with Methuselah and Chinook, right? And Seth and Adam, right? Right? I see, he says, against you, for I see, and behold, verse 27, the devil has begun their seductions against you, the demons, the devils, the spirits, the ruachs of the fallen, right? The ruachs of the fallen, right? Has started their seductions against you and against your children, and now I fear on your behalf that after my death ye will shed the blood of men, right, upon the earth, and that ye too will destroy from the face of the earth, and will be destroyed from the face of the earth, right? For whosoever sheds man's blood, and whosoever eats the blood of any flesh, all shall be destroyed from the earth. See, you in the United States of America, bro, right? You were taken as slaves, captives, into this land, right? Wasn't yours. It wasn't theirs. But they came in and took it. And they came and made you work it. You became their farmers. You became their agriculturals. You became their pickers. Right? Right. You became that. Right? You helped build their wealth. And then what they said was they was going to share crop with you. They was going to give you some of the American dream. Right? It's always been a nightmare for us. We ain't never had an American dream. And listen, all of these rich black folk, right? These gala people, devils. They serve by all the witches and warlocks. Right? These devils, right, that are of Hebrew, right? They're covenanted with them. And they will give them some wealth, but there are things that they have to do. Covenanted with them, right? Things that they have to do. He says here, he says, there shall, no, I went too far. For whosoever sheds man's blood, and whosoever shall eat blood of any flesh, all shall be destroyed. So what you saying? I'm saying that as a people in a land, right, that was built on bloodshed, right, of a people that had occupied this land, right, you were under a curse if you look to stay and remain in said land, because it ain't yours. See, listen, you ain't never intended for you to be all over the world like that. You could technically go to places and visit places, right? But as a people, it wasn't intended for you to go over and occupy space in everybody's country. They did that. And see, they did that by conquest. But you know what? The Hebrews did it too when they went over Jordan. They did it too when they came out of Mitsrayim. No, what they did was they took a territory that was theirs by lot. Right? And the nation that was in it was Canaan and his descendants. And the descendants of Canaan were to be rooted out of a land that was named after Canaan that he took by incursion. He is under a curse. He's going to serve his brothers because of what had occurred with Ham at the time that he uncovered his father's nakedness. Now, there's more to that story. There has to be more to that story, because when you think about that story, right, here you have Ham witnessing his father's nakedness, right? But it's Canaan that gets the curse. There is something that's missing from that. and I'm sure that if it is, it's something missing on purpose. Because it does not necessarily make sense when it comes to Yahuah, right? Yahuah would visit the iniquities of fathers unto the sons to the third and fourth generation of them that hate him. So that may be the reason. But to specifically at that time for his father to curse Canaan, there seems like there's got to be more going on to the story. Hence the reason why, Genesis is the edited version. And Jubilees makes necessary what you need to know according to times and seasons. As a Hebrew. Right? But what you have is this idea that you cannot build in a land that's not yours and call that land yours. You can't. Now, it all belongs to Yahuah, but Yahuah gave it to people by lots. Which means that, right? The lot that these people, the people that were originally therein, who had possession of that land by whatever lot or subdivisions, because, there was a bunch of Native Americans, right? There was a bunch of tribal, different Native Americans in that land. But here come Yefet, looking for good land, looking to harvest and take by violence, right? Technology, they got guns and bullets. Native Americans got spears and arrows. Coming in and taking their land. Taking land that they don't even really feel belongs to them. They feel it belongs to, whoever the Most High is to them. They don't. Whoever they serve, this is his land or her land. I don't know. Right? But in the understanding now, as a people of Yahuah, we know that it's not our land. We don't have a right to claim or take possession or demand possession of a spot of land or a piece of land that's not even ours. It's not your land, right? He says here, let's go on, let's keep going. He says here, for whosoever sheds man's blood and who eats blood of any flesh shall all be destroyed from the earth, and there shall not be left any man that eats blood or that sheds the blood of man on the earth, nor that be left to him any seed of descendants living under the heavens. That's why Yahuah told Canaan, look, you're going to be rooted out. Your descendants are going to be rooted out. The nation was supposedly utterly drive everybody out of Canaan, but they left some Canaanites there. And because they did, they were a snare. And that snare led to Lord worship. It led to the Lord worship. Baal. Right? It led to the Lord worship. It led to Baal. Right? So and to Ashtaroth. Right? Ashtaroth. The pole. Stripper pole. It led to Ashtaroth worship. Come, let us reason together, says Yahuah. He says here, nor shall there be left any of him, any seed or descendants living under the heavens, for in Sheol shall they go. Listen, these wicked descendants these wicked descendants of Japhet that has made incursion into this land, and that have stole us from the lands of Yahudah, our lands, at the same time having subdivided the land of Yahuah amongst their wicked diabolical selves. They call it colonizing. They colonized. It's like they colonized the United States. They colonized Africa. They parted his lands, divided amongst itself to get his resources. It killed his people in their lands. Their lands became desolate. They killed us by the millions. Millions in the Congo. Millions. Right? Cut off hands and feet. And the millions in Congo. It's because they wanted rubber. Barbaric. Right? See what they don't realize that Yahudah's rising. And Yahudah's alliance will. See, from the prey we go up. From the prey we crouch like an old lion. Who gonna raise us up? Right? Right? We trust in Yahuah. Therefore no weapon formed against us prospers. We trust in Yahuah. That's why one will put 1,000 to flight, two will put 10,000 to flight. Why? See, he didn't want you to know who you are. See, your lands need you. The lands are travailing, waiting for the manifestation, the return, the revealing of the sons of Yahudah and Yashar'Al back in their lands. Because Yahuwah has chosen Yahudah for his inheritance. That's why they want to destroy you. And the United Snakes of America. That's why they wanted you unalived. That's why you will never rise. That's why you cannot expect to establish anything, right? And have it be prosperous, right? To the degree that you would like for it to be in this land. Because these devils won't allow it. And Yahuwah ain't gonna allow it either. Make no mistake about it. Yahuwah ain't gonna allow it. Yahuwah never told you to come over here and expect to be rich in the lands of your captivity. Right? Serving a nation. Learning their ways. Right? Learning their ways. Taking a land that was not allotted to them. And now you become one with them. You American. This is your land. The land of the free, the home of the brave. What? Yeah, I served the military too. What you got to say? He says, the descendants, the man on the earth, he says, and there shall not be any left of any that eat blood or that shed blood, this is verse 29 of September Jubilees, on the earth, nor shall there be left any of him of the seed of his descendants living under the heaven. For into Sheol shall they go. Going into Sheol. Right? See, now this is what Noah knew, and he was sharing with his sons, right? And into the place of condemnation shall they descend into the darkness of the deep. Shall they be removed by a violent death. You know, check this out right. When you shed innocent blood, right, you've often removed by a violent death. That's what it says. Right? Right? Shed blood. You remove by violent death. That's why certain things happen. You know, people hail you. So, oh, you know, he's a victim. You know, he shouldn't have been unalived like that. Right. Right. They say that. But, you know, if you die violently like that, it's because you've shed innocent blood. There is a just recompense of reward awaiting this nation. And Yashar'Al, because, you know, you want to be like them. You want to serve Baal, and you want to get your hustle on, and you want to chase the money, chase the bag. You want to be like them. Right? You want to be like them. Right? But it never happens. Right? They got you in your communities, furnishing you with drugs and guns to sell to your own people. But you get in the bag at the expense of your people. Become savages. We become violent, right? Because we've learned the ways of the heathen. But Yahuah is calling me to warn you to come out from among them and rise from the dead. It's time for you to come out from among them and rise from the dead. Right? He says here, cover the blood. No, he says, what was that? And shall be moved by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you of all the blood, and there shall be all the days in which ye have killed any beast. So he's talking about animals and sacrifices in blood. Even life that's in blood is not supposed to be on us, right? We definitely ain't supposed to consume blood, right? He says, and ye shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that and none may eat blood before you. You know, rare steaks. You know, some people just cut the meat off and eat it after they've killed an animal. Just cut a piece off it. That ain't you, Yashar'Al. Right. There's judgment. Right? There's judgment. Cover blood, for thus, he says, and ye shall not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus I've been commanded to testify to you and to your children together with all flesh. Right? And suffer not the souls to be eaten of the flesh. That's the blood. That your blood, which is your life, your soul, may not be required at the hand. That's why, you know, that's why I don't want no blood transfusion. Look, I'm going to tell you something. If there's something that you don't want to heal me with, guess what? I don't want nobody's blood. See, y'all don't learn the ways of the heathen. You don't learn the ways of the heathen. You know, our answer was to be natural medicines, because we're biological, right? It wasn't about these chemicals. It's about biological. You know, it is about biological. And if you eat right, take care of yourself right? You know, in the United States of America, we have been a gigantic experiment. You know, these industrial complex, you know, the ones, you know, that pump chemical solutions to physical problems. It's never supposed to be that way with us, right? We were never supposed to, You know, I need a liver transplant. I need somebody to give me a liver. I need a kidney transplant. I need a heart transplant. What? The life of the flesh is in the blood. The soul of the person is in whatever organ that transported or transplanted into you. See, but you know, they got you doing all this stuff. You know, they got you believing in all of this so-called practiced medicine. Right? Yeah. Just like your OBGYNs. Right? They didn't become OBGYNs until they decided to start performing surgeries on Hebrew females. Without anesthesia, I might add. Diabolical. Again, this is wickedness. Yahuah has never called Yashar'Al. Yashar'Al, look, if there's any sick among you, you're supposed to call for the others of the church. They're supposed to pray for you. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and Yahuah shall raise them up. Right? Right? You know, a woman came to Yahusha. She had been to many physicians. All she needed to do was touch. The woman with an issue of blood. All she needed to do was touch. Right? Because we ain't like them. But you've learned the ways. So now everything is so obscured. To the point where, you know, when you hear somebody like me talking, you think I've lost my mind. I'm bonkers. But what I have is a revelation of Torah. And what I've been called to do is to cry loud and spare not to you. This is not your land. You don't do like the heathens do. He told you to learn not the ways of the heathen. Right? Is that Hosea? No, he said here's a controversy with you there. It's Judges. He says, learn not the ways of the heathen, right? Because the heathen, right? Here we go. Jeremiah 10:1. Hear you the word of Yahuah. Speak unto you, O house of Yashar'Al. Thus saith Yahuah, learn not the ways of the heathen. Yeah, but we have. Right? Bought into the idea of higher education and capitalism. Graduating from their highest levels of education. Right? You know, being a part of Harvard or Yale, Ivy League schools. Learn the ways of the heathen. They've taught you to hate yourself. Let's go really quick to a couple of the places I want to go. Hallelujah. Yahuah told me to cry loud. Right? Let's go to 10. Right? Now again, we reiterating why this is not your land. He says this here in the 10th chapter again. We read this yesterday. And Cham his father, and Kush his brother, and Kush and Mitsrayim his brothers, said unto him, you cannot settle in a land which is not yours. Right? You can't settle in a land that's not yours. See, but these wicked nations, right? They encourage. You know, they do. You know, even Jersey is an encouragement. Philistine. They encourage. Right? On a land. It was not theirs. He said, you have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. It was not given to us by Yahuah. Right? Do not do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. For if you do so, you and your sons shall fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition ye have settled, and by sedition you and your children shall fall and shall be rooted out forever. See, the United States of America is going to be rooted. Because they incurred into a land that's not theirs. Listen, there's going to come a time when these people that have settled in this nation, they're going to like, okay, we got to get out of here. We going back to our own land. It's in the scriptures. It's in the text. They don't leave and go back to their own lands. Because they recognized that the destruction that was coming to this United States. Right, even now, because of this administration's and its implementation of tariffs, other nations that would normally come here aren't coming here. Right, even Canadians ain't even. All they gotta do is come over the border. They ain't even come over the United States. Europe, Asia. We want to come see Yosemite Sam or Yosemite Sam. Yosemite Sam is a cartoon character. Again with Disney, that devil. Visit your land. They're not even coming to this land. It's going to get to the point where they're going to leave. They're going to leave. He says here, for by sedition you have settled by sedition. By sedition you have settled. What is sedition? Right? By sedition. Right? Excitement or resistance or insurrection against lawful authority. So unlawfully, you violated the authority of Torah and Yahuah and decided to settle in a land that wasn't yours. He says here, and by sedition you will fall, and you shall be rooted out forever. Dwell not in the land of Canaan or Shem, for to Shem and his sons did it come by lot. See, my land, because I'm Shem through the 12 tribes, from the land of sub-Saharan Africa, from the land of Yahudah, Yahudah. The 12 tribes, that's my land. Right? Not the United States of America. They incurred on this land by sedition, insurrection. Not insurrection. By sedition, they made incursion. Right. So it says here, dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for Shem and his sons did it come by their lot. The Middle Earth, the equator, that area. Cursed are you, and cursed shall you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which he bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Yahuah or Noah, our Abba, our father. So listen, look, man, Canaan, you just can't go in Shem's land. You can't do it, right? You can't do it because we swore, right, by the angels to Yahuah and to our father, right? Hence, we know Canaan didn't go. Right? We know, hence Canaan didn't listen. And he went in anyway. And Yahuah, in the fullness of time, as he brought forth Avraham, right, and the 12 tribes, Avraham settled in the land of Canaan, right? But he was a sojourner there, right? Because the land, even though it was theirs by lot, right, had been Canaan's for the longest. And his seed has been in that land. So he was in his own land, sojourning as a stranger in that land, because it was to them, not him, not his. But Yahuah had already established a Torah in reference to this land, that it was for Shem. And see, listen, Shemites, right? Specifically, 12 tribes. Specifically, Yahudah, right? Your land ain't Haiti. Your land ain't Colombia. You who are of Yashar'Al. You who were taken, right? Taken from your land, right? By ships into lands to build and develop that weren't yours. That ain't your land. It'll never be your land. It is a temporary occupation. It's temporary occupation. You know, here's the sad part too, right? For us who understand Torah and recognize the significance of the obedience to Torah in faith in Hamashiach Yahusha's witness, and understand the necessity of fulfilling and walking in alignment with Torah, right? We can't settle any just where. We can't. Why do you think Yahuah is going to gather us, right? He's going to gather us. He's going to take us out, right? He's going to gather us. He's going to give us out of these lands in order to return back to the land that he has promised for us by inheritance. These lands aren't your lands. Your land ain't Haiti. Your land is on the continent of Africa. You was bought over by the French as slaves, right? It was never your land. You know, but you beat the brakes off France and you made it your land. But you have never been able to prosper there. Why? Because it ain't your land. Right? You can never, these wicked nations have such a thumb on you that you can't even develop and grow in that land unless one of them is there, and then they're going to develop that land and you ain't gonna get nothing. It ain't your land. Yashar'Al, Yahudah, these are not your lands. That's why you can never prosper there. So you can't prosper in South America. You can't prosper in Colombia. You can't prosper in portions of Mexico. These are not your lands. But you know how big Yahuah's lands is? You can fit 2-3 United States of America in Africa. That's why as a people. That's why as a people, Jersey could never be the land. Couldn't contain us. Jersey could probably fill one tribe. Maybe two. He said, don't take it by sedition, right? He says, but he did not hearken unto them, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, and from Chamath, and the entering of Mitsrayim, he and his sons until this day, right? He and his sons until this day. Now, let's go to Joel, right? Let me hit Joel real quick, right? He says in Joel, the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse, for behold, in those days and at that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Yahudah and Jerusalem. Right. Bring the captivity of Yahudah. Right. You're going to bring the captivity of Yahudah and Jerusalem. The captivity of Yahudah. Those that were taken from their lands and brought to these Americas that have repented when they have come to themselves and returned through faith in the Mashiach Yahusha. Right? He says there, I shall bring them again, the captivity of Yahudah and Jerusalem. And I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage sake, whom they have scattered among all the nations and parted my lands. Listen. Right? He says, they have scattered among the nations. Right? It took us from our lands. I will bring again the captivity of Yahudah. Yahudah, it's time to go home. Right? Listen. We have to have the mindset of leaving the daughter of Babylon. Where is it? It's in no, it's Zechariah. What am I doing? It's Zechariah 4. Zechariah 4. Zechariah 4. Zechariah 4. No, it's not 4. Is it 3? Zechariah 3. The branch. No, maybe Zechariah. Anyway, it says flee the daughter of Babylon. This is Zechariah. I know it is. This is Zechariah. Oh, maybe it's not Zechariah. Zechariah 8. Anyway, he calls the nation to flee the daughter of Babylon. Anyway, it's a prophetic word for the nation to flee Babylon, right? Flee Babylon, depart from her, right? So, what we read here in Joel, it says, for in those days, and at that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Jerusalem, Judah to Jerusalem. And I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? And will plead with them there for my people and for my what? Heritage. Who's his heritage? His heritage is Israel. But he also says, I have chosen Yahudah as my inheritance. So his heritage is Yashar'Al. His inheritance is Yahudah, right? He says here, whom I have scattered amongst the nation, and whom they have scattered amongst the nation and parted my lands. Right? So he took us out of our land, right? Land that flows with milk and honey. And parted our lands, made our lands desolate. We didn't work our land. We didn't harvest our lands. We didn't do the things that we would normally do as a people. Right? He says, they have cast lots for my people. Right? And they've given a boy, that was a lie. And they have given a boy for an harlot. Catamites. They're giving a boy catamites. And sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zion? Zidon. And all that coast of Palestina. Will ye render to me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I not return your recompense on your hand? On your head? There's a judgment coming. Got the hiccups now. Yeah. Right? Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into the temple my good and pleasant things. You've taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temple my artifacts, my gold, my diamonds, my cobalt, my oil. He says, the children also of Yahudah and the children of Yashar'Al have you sold to the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their borders, the land that I have given them. Behold, I will rise them up out of the place whither you have sold them, and return your recompense upon your head. Yashar'Al and Yahudah, you who have been redeemed and have received the witness, you are rising. He's not rising you so that you could build in this land, right? Behold, I will raise them up out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense on your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of Yahudah, and they shall sell them to the Sabeans, to a people far off, for Yahuah have spoken it. You ain't gonna get around this judgment. See, Yashar'Al, Yahudah, we are a people that is called by the name of Yahuah. Yahuah demands obedience. This is not your land. It was never intended to be your land. I got the English. I can't believe this. Right? He said, behold, I will raise them up out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return the recompense upon your own head. Your recompense. Right? Proclaim ye among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Let them come up. Beat the plow shears into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. Teach your children the use of the bow and the weapons of war. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come. O Yahuah. Right? Let the heathen be weakened. Right? So, what we have is this people that is gathered to their own land from the lands they were scattered, right? Where their blessing is, right? And this shall come, let's jump down to the 3rd chapter, the 18th verse. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills will flow with milk, and all the rivers of Yahudah shall flow with water, and the fountains shall come forth of the house of Yahuah, and it shall water the valleys of Shittim. Right? Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against Yahudah. For the violence against Yahudah. For the violence against Yahudah. What did Sanger? What was the Sanger person? For the violence against Yahudah, because she hath shed innocent blood in their lands. Edom, for the violence against the children of Yahudah, because she has shed innocent blood in their land. But Yahudah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem, from generation to generation. And I will cleanse their blood, and that it shall not, that I have not cleansed. I will cleanse their blood, 3:21, that I have not cleansed, for Yahuah dwelleth in Zion. Man, y'all, woman, y'all, you can't settle in the land that's not yours. You can't occupy territory that doesn't belong to you. It belongs to you. The land belongs all to Yahuah. But it belongs to a people. And it's not yours. You can't assume possession of it. It's not yours. Whatever you have that you've been allowed to work, your responsibility is to share with your children. This is not Canaan's land. This is not the land that flows with milk and honey. This is not the land that Yahuah has given to our people by lot. There will come a time when we'll be restored to our land. But this is not it. Your land is sub-Saharan Africa. Abba Yahweh, the words you've given me to give to them, I've given to them, and I pray that in the name of Yahusha they would receive them in Amunah. Abba, this is not our home. This is not our land by lot. In the name of Yahusha, I give you praise. Abba, I pray that you would allow the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, to be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of you, beautifully and wonderfully made today. Today, you was favorite you. I apologize for the hiccups. Devil. I got hiccups. I got hiccups. With that, I say, listen, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Man of Yahudah, woman of you, be blessed. Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.